Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Bill Gilchrist, and I'm the Executive Director of the Anton Art Center in Mount Clemens. Thank you for joining us today for this virtual artist talk that we are hoping for the new exhibit Dreamscape, featuring artists Cathy Jacobs and Luzhen Qiu. Just a few announcements before I turn it over to our exhibition Stephanie to introduce the artists and get the talk underway. Please, if you're joining us virtually now, you may be aware that we have a number of other virtual programs and a video library featuring all sorts of art instructional videos on our YouTube channel and on our website. We hope that you'll spend some time to investigate what is there and visit our other social media platforms while you're at it. We will be having our next Sad Art Day program presented by First State Bank. Is going to be hosted here at the Anton Art Center, and it's going to be focusing on comic book art with Evan J. Condren, and that program is free and open to the public, sponsored by First State Bank. We hope that you'll join us for that as well. That same day, on September the 11th, we're also opening the Artist Choice Group exhibit in our Petiprin Community Gallery, and we will be hosting a virtual award ceremony again here on our Facebook page for that exhibit. Please note that we will be closed for September the 4th to all in-person everything. We're going to be closed for the Labor Day holiday that weekend, but you'll still be able to see this exhibit and our other recent exhibits on our website, www.theartcenter.org. We are typically open Tuesdays through Saturdays from 11 a.m. until 3 p.m. And so you're welcome to come and see the exhibit during those hours, just not on September the 4th. Finally, I just wanted to mention that currently our fall class registrations are open. If you're interested in signing up for a class, you can visit our website and see what we have available for the upcoming term. Lastly, I'll leave you with this. Our annual Art Party fundraising event is being planned for September the 23rd. That's a Thursday from 6 to 9 p.m. Tickets are on sale now. Either you can purchase those over the phone or on our website. Hope you'll enjoy this artist talk coming up. I won't take up too much more of your time. Actually, I'm just going to turn it over right now to our exhibition manager, Stephanie Hazard, to take it from here. Stephanie?
Awesome. Okay. Thank you, Phil. Welcome, everybody. My name is Stephanie Hazard. I'm the exhibition manager, as Phil mentioned, and I'm very pleased to be here with you today to introduce two artists for the show that we have up opening just today called Dreamscape. This show features artist Cathy Jacobs and artist Luzhen Qiu, two artists that we have with us today who are going to be giving you a really great artist talk with lots of information about themselves, their artwork, and what we have on show for you. This exhibit opens, like I mentioned today, August 28th. It is open through October 13th. So you have a little while to come visit the gallery to come see it. We are open Tuesday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. You can find the show also virtually on our website. So if you're unable to come see the show in person for whatever reason, you can also see the show virtually. It's on our website at www.theartcenter.org/exhibits. If you go to our homepage, you'll find the exhibits tab there, and you can see all 35 pieces, or at least pictures of them, available for you on the website. So what we'll do now is Phil had a couple introductions for you, a couple notes. I'm going to keep things relatively short here so we can get to our artists that are here today with us. First, we're going to start with Luzhen, and following Luzhen, we will go to Cathy, and they'll both talk about their work. They have a short presentation to give, about 15 minutes each, and then at the afterward, after both presentations are made, we'll have an interview session where we'll answer questions that I have for them, and also questions if you feel as a viewer, if you have questions or comments, please put them in the comment section under this video, and we will get to those questions in that section later on after the presentations. So with that said, I'm going to now introduce our first speaker. Luzhen Qiu is a Chinese-American artist born in China, graduated from Wayne State University in Detroit with a Master's of Fine Arts degree. She has over 28 years of art teaching experience and has taught classes at a variety of different art institutions in Southeast Michigan. And Luzhen, we can turn it over to you now.
Okay, great. Yeah. Okay. Well, and first of all, I really want to thank you, Anton Art Center, for giving us this wonderful opportunity. And thank you, Stephanie, very much for all your effort and your help to make the show happen. Thank you. And Cathy and I, we met at her solo exhibition in 2017. I was so amazed by her work and the beautiful colors and also very complex layered structure. It was just breathtaking. And so since then, we just decided to have a show together. And so today, mainly I will show a body of work, very recent work. So let me just share my screen so I could just we could take a look at some of the images.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Can you see it?
Yep.
Okay. So I was very interested in rocks and mountains. Rocks were introduced to Chinese garden and as individual specimens and as a component of complex rock reliefs. A deeper appreciation for rocks stemmed from Asian religious towards nature, which included the veneration of the mountains. Rocks were believed to have a concentrate energies and symbolize the dwelling place of the Taoist immortals. So this photo is in a Chinese merchandise house, residential house near my parents' house in Hangzhou in China. And I visit often. And this is one of the rockeries in his garden courtyard. Sometimes people build up the pavilion on the top of rockeries. So I start to draw lines with different brush strokes with different energy force, and sometimes on rice paper or maybe sometimes direct on the newsprint, use the sumi ink. So, and then after I draw, and then I start to cutting piece by piece and rearrange the space. And so just start to build up on my own rockeries, block by block. This image is 80 inches by 42 inches. Same size. These three triptych is in the gallery now. Each of them 80 inches by 42 inches. The red line is kind of visually guiding people through the whole painting. So after I draw those rockeries, I start to creating landscapes by making monotype. So monotype is basically kind of a single print, printmaking. And so I just direct draw, use sumi ink. Sometimes we use watercolor, and on a plate, it could be a piece of glass or maybe a piece of plastic sheets. And then after that, I just put the paper on the top and making block ink, block printing. This is 11 by 16 inches. The title is called Ode to a Nightingale, from a British poet and John Keats. I love the sentimental value inside. It's kind of, fits to my mood when I'm creating this work.
Inspired by the poem, right?
Yeah, poem, yeah. The Ode to a Nightingale.
And this is a series. There's a series of several of these pieces that are titled Ode to a Nightingale.
Yes. Yeah, sometimes it does remind me of those, lake bed. A couple of years ago, I will watch a video called "Enjoying the Great Lakes" done by National Geographic, and it was really fascinating, especially when I see the Lake Superior, after you drink, and then the shipwrecks. It's sort of like a mysterious wonderland. Details. Sometimes it does mix with a different kind of media, watercolor and sumi ink. The more I do that, and I just realize that I always can subject and add up more colors, things inside.
So are these monotypes, are these similar to the rockeries in a way that you're trying to build a type of rockery also in these, or do these have a different goal?
Yeah, because for the rockeries is I just use the drawing, drawing different kind of lines to build up blocks of rocks. And these, instead of the drawing, I just use monoprint. So the shape is kind of, come from monoprint. It might remind me some kind of rock shape, lake bed. And then, so after I draw those, and then I just, sometimes I do enjoy certain kind of moment area, because it's sometimes it can surprisingly interesting. And people can read whatever they want to read. It could be like a shipwrecks, or maybe, something, rocks over there, or maybe it could just totally abstraction.
Yeah, definitely the density of the medium that you're using, the ink and watercolor, you definitely get a very strong, like natural movements and shapes.
Thank you.
Like ice or rocks, or combination.
Exactly. So after making those monotype, I was thinking about why don't I just make those landscape fuse into my rockeries, like inside of those rockeries. And so I start to making those collage. These are on wood panel, collage on wood panel. And so I start to cutting those rockeries, either those monotypes, and then just pasting it. And these are 30 by 40 inches.
Yeah, you might be able to see a couple of them actually right behind me here. This way.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So I keep making it. It's so sort of like I just feel like it's I could continue the vision, on and on. So it's like an open-ended kind of image, And
is this style, Luzhen, is this just new style for you, or is this similar to the artwork that you made in previous years?
I always like obsessed to making almost the visually like a hand scroll kind of, viewpoint. And it's instead of being like a fixed perspective. So I'll show you some of my other works, although the content could be media, could be totally different, but still like remain this kind of motion kind of, perspective, looking, So it's supposed to be like multiple panel reading. So, side by side. So when reader can keep reading.
I see a lot of like a visual storytelling in a way with images and medium repeating in these shapes here. Feels like a storyline.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why what I like it, because sometimes you can get confused whether it's a landscape inside a rock or maybe it's just a rock. So I like sometimes kind of a little bit ambiguity.
Mm-hmm. Really nice contrast too with light and dark.
Thank you. Yeah, because the poet is kind of a little bit dark, sentiment, melancholy kind of a feeling. So that was kind of
What inspires you most about reading his poetry? You mentioned John Qiu.
Well, it's just probably it's just the mood, sadness kind of, and it's kind of a romanticism inside of a sadness, So, yeah.
And these were recent works. So do you think that the pandemic, do you think that influenced you in that choice?
Definitely. I was making a lot of color pencil on my layer, the mylar. Those work I will show you a little bit before, later. And then I was feel like this kind of times getting so difficult, for us, for everybody, and quarantine, and then it's been so long, and then I just feel like I start to feel a little bit depressed, and then I realize maybe I have to find. Sometimes I have to turn off the media, the TV to news, and then, but away from that the reality. So it's kind of keep making those little fantasies, images. So it's just like took refugees, to myself.
Now,
So
is this the first time that you've shown these pieces, Luzhen?
yes, very recent body. It's just done a couple months ago, this year. So this series, yeah. So also that's that, and in the gallery, there's some mixed media and paintings over there. Yeah, with the collage or color, multimedia.
What types of media are in these?
And they are multimedia, watercolor, and acrylic, oil, oil stick. So it's kind of a collage also, yeah. And this is acrylic and oil, 40 inches by 30 inches. It's titled Appearance Through Strata.
Now, those who are familiar with your work, they might, is this the type of color and movement that they might be used to seeing, or is this a newer style also?
The sort of a new style, but I'm always one side I was doing some of those representational kind of work, and the other side I always doing something loosen up, doing abstraction and study, try to figure out the forms, the colors when those through those chaotic lines, forms. So yeah, it's just although I've been painting all different kind of subject and different kind of style, but still there's some things always remain the same, like the visually the not emotion, the like mapping images to images, mapping shape to shapes, that kind of thing.
I noticed a lot of layering too, and a lot of variety in brushstroke.
Thank you. Yeah, these are all creating during the pandemic time, so sort of like chaotic, come through. So that's that. And also I want to show a little bit, this the another kind of drawing. It's color pencil on layered mylar, talking about the perspective, the it's not the fixed perspective. So it's like reading my work is almost like reading a Chinese hand scroll. So your eye is like shifting from one to another. Eye is mapping also, mapping from shape to shapes. I hope I don't make you nauseous when I'm moving those pictures. Sometimes visually can disturbing people, you know.
Oh, no, it seems
Okay,
good to me.
bear with me, just it'll be done quickly. So it's like a reading an open-ended story, you know. So it's you know, inviting people dive into the images, you know, look at here, wandering here, there.
There's a lot of layering going on. That's
Exactly. This is kind of something in common between me and Kathy's work.
Mhm.
You know, we both love to build up layers.
Why is that?
Or just probably personalities, you know, I love that kind of a space of death. And then there's some things hiding behind. And there's something ambiguities coming out.
Mhm.
And it's just also part of build a part of, you know, the space of depth.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's that. And also about, you know, Kathy's work is even more step further because of her, you know, the workers involve all different kind of viewpoint, look at her work, and then different angle, look at her work, and also the mind, the brain is gathering all those different kind of multiple information. And as those colors start to react in each other, so it's like a very interactive, you know, I just saying like it's a very motion perspective. That's what we really love to, you know, to try to working on that. So thank you very much. And let's just give it to wonderful Kathy's work. Yeah. Sure.
Okay, if you can,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect.
Did I stop share?
Thank you, Luzhen.
Mhm.
And thanks for answering my questions throughout. I appreciate you clarifying and humoring me on some of my questions.
Thank you.
All right, well, now we will move on to Kathy and her presentation. But just quickly before she starts, Kathy Jacobs is an artist from Ann Arbor, Michigan, who graduated from Eastern Michigan University with a Master of Fine Arts. Kathy's work has been shown in several group exhibitions and solo exhibitions, including the Aquarium Gallery in Ann Arbor, the Woods Gallery, Huntington Woods, and the Lindgren Gallery in George Fox University and in Newberg, Oregon. Kathy is here with us today to share more about her work that we have included here in Dreamscape, and I will pass it over to her. Hi, Kathy.
Hi. Thank you for having me. I'm in my studio in Ypsilanti, Michigan. It's called Ipsy Alloy Studios, and I've got a three-dimensional screen piece behind me and linen yarn behind me and a loom next to me. But I wanted to talk about how Lujan and I even met, but let me, I'll share I'll share my screen.
Yeah. It's cool to see your studio too. It's always nice to see where an artist works, kind of see behind the scenes a little bit.
Yeah, so my background is in painting. I have a Bachelor of Fine Art in Painting from Wayne State University in Detroit. And as you mentioned, I have a master's from Eastern Michigan University. And I think of my paintings as, I guess they could be called sculptures too, but it's like painting in time and space. And I'll explain what I mean. But I wanted to talk about how I met Lujan. As she said, we were at an art gallery at an opening reception, and we met each other because we were introduced by an old professor that we both shared. I was at Wayne State University as an undergraduate, while Lujan was a master's candidate there. And we both had Professor Tom Parrish as our painting professors. And for the undergraduates, he'd always be talking about artists and different things, but he'd also be talking about his grad students. And he'd talk about one in particular, Luzhen, And he was talking about the struggles that she was having and finding a subject matter and meaning in her work. And he said, and I don't know what to make sense of this, but she put a bunch of trash on the floor of her studio and she's beginning to paint it all. He thought that was so ambitious and that, well, she didn't think that she'd be able to do it. But what she was doing was trying to find the beautiful moments, the movement. Where does your eye rest? Where does it keep going in this massive information that was on the floor of her studio? And she did several works like this. And I remember seeing them in a graduate show that was at the university. And of course, I took note of this. And then over the years, I go to gallery shows around town, and I'd be drawn across the room to particular works. And I'd always notice, oh, this is a Chinese artist, but I don't recognize Chinese names. So I just had it in my mind, oh, this is a Chinese artist. And I'd always think it was a different artist. Every time I went to a gallery, it was drawn across the room. And so when I met Luzhen and we got to talking and she told me who she was, I went home afterwards and I looked her up and I realized for the last 20 years, I'd been following this woman through grad school, through galleries, and always drawn to her work. So when she asked if we could show together, I said, of course. And so we're both drawn to each other's work. And for this particular show, even though she's working in 2 dimensions and I'm working in 3 dimensions, what we have in common is this viewing something from a motion perspective. So usually when you're looking at a picture, you've got one viewpoint, you're looking at it, and that's where you look at it from. But with the Chinese scroll painting, you need to move across the page or move the page so that you can keep seeing. So it's a motion perspective. And my works are similar in that way, that you need to move past the work in order to see it. So this one that I'm showing you, it's called Violet Rhythm. And on the left is the static frontal image of it. And if you were to, I always imagine if you were going down a staircase and this work was in front of you, or if you were going down an escalator, this is what you would see. On the right, you would see all of these different layers interacting with each other from different angles and colors changing. In this particular work, there are only 3 colors, but you see many more when they're mixing visually as you move. So this is really what I'm doing in all the almost all of the pieces that are in this show. You need to move in order to actually see the work. So people always ask me, so if you were a painter, well, let me see your paintings. So this is a painting from about 10 years ago. And I was really interested in light and color and trying to make things shimmer in this static 2-dimensional space. And always thinking about light bouncing off the back of the canvas and how do I make things glow and how do I make things vibrate. And this is an oil painting. It's 5 feet tall. And it's a big piece. And here's another example of a small piece, still layers and light and interaction of very thin layers of paint. And so at this time, I also discovered the artworks of Peter Doig, and this is one of his paintings. And I was, as you can see, it's many thin layers and it's kind of vibrating. And this is what I was into. And so while I was in graduate school, one of my friends who was a grad student in fibers, Brianne Sherwood is her name. She said, Kathy, you're working with these really thin layers of oil. Maybe to, push further, maybe you can start experimenting with thin layers of silk organza, layer them. Silk organza, you can see right through it and see what comes of it. And I thought, yeah, that's a good idea. So I signed up for a fibers class so that I could learn how to dye fabric. And I started experimenting with layering silk organza on the boards that I would usually use for making paintings, and also mixing paint with it, gesso with it, whatever I found around the studio, metal, pins and needles, things like that. What can I make? So these are just this experimentation. And then I started experimenting with layering the actual large paintings that I had with layers of dyed silk organza. And I liked what was happening, but what I was really interested in when I was putting this layering this silk organza was the wavy pattern, which they call it a moire pattern, that you see in the left-hand corner of this picture. It's a wavy pattern that you get when you layer two grids on top of each other. Your eye cannot make sense of the grids, and therefore it waves. And I guess for here, it's happening to the camera also. The camera is not being able to make sense of it, therefore it's waving. And you had to get 2 inches from the painting in order to see that wavy pattern. And I wanted to make that wavy pattern seen from across the room. So how could I do this? Well, maybe if it's happening from this simple grid pattern that's in the silk, maybe if I can weave a larger fiber, then I could get this a big grid pattern overlapping. And so I took a weaving class while I was at Eastern Michigan University. And in it, I found exactly what I was looking for all those years in painting. There was color interaction, atmosphere, the vibration that you get when two different lines come in front of each other, all sorts of visual play. This optical visual play that was most exciting to me. And so making these three-dimensional optical works, the subject matter that I guess that was in the painting, all of a sudden it became the color and the overall shape. And I have always loved color field painting, reducing painting to its most basic form. And one of my favorites is Mark Rothko and also Kenneth Noland. And so I think of these three-dimensional layered pieces that I've got in this gallery in Anton Art Center as color field painting. But color field painting expanded into 3 dimensions plus time, and that time being the time that it takes for your head to shift or your body to walk around the piece. And you can see in this picture that I'm showing you on the left-hand side of the picture, when you look straight onto the piece, you only see aquas and blues. But when you walk a little past, a red pops out. And when you look very close, you see all of the electric colors that are woven into those blues and aquas. This one is called Aqua Song. It's not in this show, but it's just a really good example of the color change that I'm always going for, like with the surprises that I want to happen in the works. This piece, Midwestern Spring, is in the show, and you can see in the frontal picture on the left that you just see greens and blue greens and yellow greens. But when you start to walk around the piece, oranges pop up. And if you keep going, the orange disappears and you get aqua and purple and white. It's called Midwestern Spring. And here's a close-up of it. And a lot of times when I'm creating artworks, they're all about color, but the color it seems to come out of the air for me. So I won't know, why did I even choose these colors? When I was done working on this particular piece, I was thinking, where in the world did these colors come from? I don't know. And that day I walked out of the studio, and all of a sudden it became clear to me that the whole world around me was inside of this color palette. So it was an overcast day in Michigan, springtime. And there was the the old dead grass left over from winter that was straw colored, and it was all wet outside. So the new green of the new grass was really bright green. And then the bark of the trees was stripped, and that the wood that was exposed in the trees was a bright orange. And then I looked on the ground, and the puddles were reflecting purple and the aqua blue in there too. And so I realized it was because I was making this work in spring, and the environment was informing me. Here's another one called Passion. This one, it's very subtle. You can barely see it on this screen, but when the frontal picture, it's like two halves. There's two slightly different purple halves coming together. But when you walk past it, some aquas burst out on like both halves, and it's just really, they're like glass, actually, like when you see them in a room, the way that they shift and move. And here's a close-up of this linen piece. Here's a picture of my my loom in the Ypsilanti studio that I'm in right now. I've got the loom on wheels, so I can move it to the middle of this floor. I can move it out to the back, or behind me, I've got like a gallery wall that's got wood behind the drywall, so that I can always be screwing in different hardware and hanging things. Because all of my work, it's kind of like in my head, I don't see what it will look like until it's all done and hung up. And that's, that makes it exciting for me, because it's always a surprise. How is this work is going to turn out? I don't know until it's done. So that was how painting in 2D dimensionals in 2D was for me too. It's like, I never know how it's going to turn out until it's done. So I wanted to show you, this is like my new palette. Instead of an oil painter's palette, I have a palette of linen yarns. Oops, excuse me. And here's another like dimensional screen work, looking through the layers. And I realized quickly while I was making these huge linen screens woven on a loom that I'm making screens. Why don't I just layer like paint screens and layer them? Because that's what I'm doing. And so I did that. And like with this close-up of this piece, this is painted metal screen, and you can see that wavy effect is wild here. And it looks like a huge layers of silk organza layered, but it's metal screening. And here I am working in my backyard during COVID in the process of painting huge screens. This is one of the pieces that's in the gallery. It's a monumental piece. It's 8 feet tall. And the whole reason for doing this piece is so that you can find places to play with your eyes. And when you come up and like there's all sorts of surprises in there happening with the layers and the colors changing. And that's what's most exciting to me in working in 3 dimensions. And here's a picture of my studio with some of the works in the show, some that are from a different body of work, but I just wanted to show you that studio wall that's so important to my process. And that the desk that I'm sitting at right now is in that picture on the left. And all of my tools I have hung on a wall on the right, you can see. Yeah, thank you, Anton Art Center, for having us. It was really, I want to say it was really interesting hanging a show in a former library, because there's like all sorts of nooks and crannies and different wall sizes, and it makes it interesting to view artwork and also to hang artwork. It's in such a neat environment. So I recommend checking out their gallery space just for the old 19th century library walls that there are there.
It is
But-
quite a unique space,
Yeah,
but a lot of fun.
yeah. So thanks. That's what I've got. I don't know if you'd like me to stop the share, or if you have any question that I would need to go back to a particular picture.
Oh, sure. It's, if we have any questions coming in, then I'll be notified. But what I want to do now, I think, is we'll go back. We can stop the share for just a moment, and then I can get through. I can start a couple different lines of questioning if you like.
Mhm.
Like it's an interrogation. This is really great. It's so cool to see everything and the images while you're speaking, but I have to say, for this show in particular, it is really breathtaking to see pieces in person. I know many artists definitely struggle with photographing artwork, but I wanted to ask you both in how, especially Kathy, with your work, because it's such a moving viewpoints. How do you photograph your artwork? What do you look for when you're photographing it? Like the details that you mentioned of those overlaps. I guess my question for you is just in general, your photographs look beautiful, so they look amazing. But I'm wondering if photographing your work, does that inspire you in finding what you want from that artwork, the photograph itself?
That's a good question, because I forgot to, I forgot to add I had a picture that was an artistic photograph just on the screens, these screens that are that I'm playing with. So yeah, there was a while where even I was painting the screens, and before I even made anything out of them, I would just crumple them on the floor and photograph them and find landscapes and images just for a photograph, not for a finished three-dimensional piece, but for a finished photograph.
Hmm.
But I forgot to add that to this presentation. I totally forgot.
Well, that's okay. I'm glad I asked.
But yeah, it's a challenge. You know, it was a long, I don't know if we want to go into this, but it was a long journey from being an undergraduate in painting in the 90s, not being qualified to do anything. I worked so many minimum wage jobs all through college, all through my 20s, and jobs I'm not good at because I'm an artist. I'm good at being an artist. I'm good at design, but I wasn't trained in graphic design. So one of the things that I had to do, I felt that I had to do, was learn graphic design. And I spent an entire summer, because I taught actually school 1 year, and I got paid throughout a summer. So the entire summer I took graphic design courses, and I got an internship at a very entry level in a marketing department, where I just took I scanned their architectural photography all day, and I adjusted the photos so that the lighting looked okay, because architects were going on the field taking photographs with a simple camera and making slides out of them. They were all yellow or green, and I had to adjust the pictures to look the right color. And I didn't like that I had to do that I liked the work, but I wanted to be painting. I didn't want to be spending hours and hours a week for years doing that kind of work. But now I can photograph the work. I'm not the best photographer, but I can fix the colors so that they look like the lighting was right. And so all this background of scanning and adjusting photos and everything serves me now that I can present the work in this digital age, because most people can't see my work in person.
They're very successful, the images that you have.
years of training that I wouldn't have picked if it was me, but God had me on this path.
I hear you. I definitely understand where you're coming from. I get questions a lot about how to photograph artwork, and I always recommend, like, you know, natural light is really great because it helps bring those accurate in colors. But on that too, I wanted to mention or ask you more about how you see light as an element, as one, you know, as an element of your work. I know when we were installing it, that was a concern of yours about how exactly that light and what kind of light was hitting your work. Can you speak more to how you can think about light and in your painting and how that now comes through in your weaving?
Yeah, well, a lot of time to have a color interaction, to have vibration visually, the colors have to be similar in value. So you can't have a really dark color and a really light color next to each other. That dark color is going to overpower and you won't get a vibration. I'm always going for a visual vibration. Or if you have a really intense, like intense red in front of a weaker color, you're only going to see that intense red and it's not going to interact as well with the color behind it. But if you've got similar values like a medium blue and a medium red, and they hit each other, it's going to vibrate. But if you get so in the gallery, there's certain times where if you get a spotlight on it, it's just going to spotlight the darks and lights, not those middle colors. And the middle colors are the ones that vibrate. And I don't know if anybody knows what I'm talking about, but I mean, color theory people will know what I'm talking about, but I'm trying to, so that's why my works, they're good in all around lighting and maybe a little punch of light that brightens up the wall that's behind it so that you get some reflective light going on. But yeah, it's like subtle differences that need to be paid attention to.
Perfect. Yeah, that answers my question totally. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the title, Dreamscape. And Luzhen and Cathy, if you could talk a little bit about how you came to that title for the show. I know you talked about how you met and the different elements that are in your artwork, such as I see a lot of themes in landscape, waterscape, natural materials, environment. Cathy, you mentioned. I definitely see these waterscape feels because of Luzhen's use of watercolor itself and ink and the different elements we're talking about here and kind of like bringing all these things together. So in those, it's very like an elemental feel to the pieces, which are really like, are very, very grounding, to use like a kind of umbrella term, the pieces are. So talk to me a little bit about Dreamscape and a little bit about the idea behind that title.
Okay, for me, it's a very kind of a personality probably. And so just myself, I always dream, something is not the real, but it's kind of maybe surreal. So it's like I can rest by myself when I making those work is like a coping myself. So I at least have to make myself happy. So sort of like this, when I'm making those, is kind of fits to my mood. Mm-hmm. And especially during this, the pandemic time, and it's just so hard, so different. So that's why I just always, probably my personality is always like, wanted to have a dreamscape to think about, fantasy, personal fantasy. Yeah. Mm. What about you, Cathy?
It also seems rooted too culturally for you both, in that your background and your interests that way, and bringing those elements into your work too, kind of like in a timeless fashion, because you have a lot of echoing in your rockeries, where I see those totems that you talked about within Chinese culture. Yeah. And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's always also rooted to my background too, because I grew up in Hangzhou. It's a city in the Song Dynasty. The capital in capital of Song dynasty was really prosper on the art. So we have a literati painter, which is like a scholar's painter. So it's kind of for those people, they are kind of try to away from this, you know, it's like almost what's that called, the hermit, you know. So they want to have this Taoist kind of style. So it's not only, it's about, not always about the, you know, being a rich, have a money, have a position in the government. No, it's not about that. It's always probably, so that's kind of literati painters, you know, it's kind of their own pursuit to go to some kind of, you know, Taoist kind of immortals, you know. That's another thing probably in my mind, always potentially, you know, away from the reality. So
I can definitely see this really beautiful bridge between Kathy's work and your work, Luzhen, in this very meditative state. The work from both of you have this very calming effect. So I can see how that there was a natural bridge between you two, in that, you know, I see this really great way to come into the gallery space and immediately you just feel this like calmness. These like gentle kind of waves of color coming in and natural shapes. It puts you at ease. And I've already heard from viewers and visitors who've walked in what a relief it is to kind of be in this space. I've never had that type of atmosphere in the gallery before, and it's really exciting to have that because art too is such a meditative practice, I think, for a lot of folks. So to have that same feeling that you might get from making it, you're sharing that with the audience. I think that's really a really fantastic thing. Kathy, was there anything you wanted to comment on?
Yeah. Dreamscape would just be an overall umbrella of Luzhen in my work. Both of us have that. So, I mean, we could have called it anything, but yeah, it's definitely my personality, my natural way, that being very contemplative. And even when I was really little, before school, my brother would be having breakfast and I would just be staring. And he'd say, stop staring. And I think, I'm just thinking. But I always do that. I'm staring and I discover things, and I think I want to take the viewer with me in that thinking journey. So, you know, like I'm sharing you like, oh, discover these moments that you can only find in the work if you spend time with it.
It's definitely, when you mentioned Rothko in your presentation, it's one of the artists I immediately think of. And I think a lot of folks too can relate to that, in that with Rothko's work, it's those color fields, right, that are sitting so in like this ethereal zone. And I think a lot of people will see what I mean when they see your work in the pictures, but definitely more so in person, that it is something that I sometimes go through artwork quickly because I feel like I can get, you know, I go through it and with my eye, and it's like in this age of just kind of getting the idea of things fast. But I find myself really pausing with the work with both of you in your work. It's really, really nice to have that pause. It's like it draws it out of you to slow down, which is so cool. It's so cool, that effect that you both have created. I don't know how you did it, but it's such a cool effect. Something that I think we all really, really need, especially at such a kind of chaotic time out there in the world. So it's a really, really relaxing, calming show. So if you really need something relaxing and calming and really pretty to come see, highly, highly recommend coming to see this work. If you're not able to come in person too, you can always check it out online. There's pictures of all the artwork that are online in our virtual showing. But again, we definitely welcome you to come see the show in person. I have just one more question. If there's any other comments that Kathy or Luzhen, if you have about your work, let me know. My only other question that I wanted to ask today was about your media choices. You've both kind of moved through different media types, whether it be, you know, both have roots in painting, but have moved into fiber and paper and different types of drawing mixed in with painting. Can you talk to me a little bit about what it is about mixed media or shifting from media to media? And Kathy, you go from, you've got, screen mesh, aluminum mesh, and linen and different things. Talk to me a little bit about your media choice and what it is you like about it, and how do you move forward with it?
Do you want me to take this one, Luzhen?
You could go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, I know that there are practical things driving me to try new media, because if, for instance, each medium has its challenges or its vulnerabilities, and I'm always thinking about 500 years into the future. How will this thing last? What can I change to make it, I guess, I just improve the product. So it's not that one is better than the other. It's just I'm looking, okay, this worked. Let me try this other medium that maybe it's drapes more, and it's not gonna, this certain things won't affect it, but other things will affect it. They'll have different visual properties. It's just I'm just always trying to, I guess, improve. And so it drives me to look for other mediums that could do the job even better. And all I can say is that it just does them differently. It's like, yeah. So, but Luzhen's might be different. Hers might not be like a practical push for.
Well, actually, yeah, I love all kind of media, because they, just as you said, each media has its own strength, attractive, and it's not about the media, it's about the image, how to make an image visually impact people. Sometimes you certain media you draw for a couple of days, and other kind of media could do that one day, like very quickly can achieve that, visually effect. So really, it's not I does all kind of media. I do all kind of media, and however, I do really respect, people still stick with the oil painting, with such a long history, and as itself, the media has such a richness, just like a symphony, and you just so many, and it's just so much to tell, this I always respect and admire people who can push the media, expanding the language of that the media, So yeah, I think for me it's like I wish I could just be more concentrate when I doing the creation, and sometimes I still like I have the moment like elementary students, elementary school students, and I play with the kind of media. Oh, this effect is very interesting, but wish I can go a little bit more further. Besides that, behind those, just quickly, have that the little shininess. So
Interesting. Yeah, and I think the two, as mixed media artists, I think there's something you're both after in the materials themselves. The properties of those materials are giving you the effect that you want. So sticking with one media type, might work for one project, but not for the next. So it's neat to see how you morph, how your work morphs, and how your language morphs from one media to the next. It's great. I really appreciate that you have a variety of media. Personally, I find it really interesting to see one artist move from one thing to the next, because it means that you're quite versatile. You can use, one thing from one material, different material, to do what it is that you're looking for it to do. So yeah, it's really cool to see. So my last question, and I know my last question was my last question. What is next for you both?
keep going.
You mean professionally or project-wise?
Yeah, so with Dreamscape that's here, do you have plans to bring Dreamscape other places, or do you have a different solo path that you're pursuing next?
I think I will just probably let our work push ourselves. Sometimes the work can lead us to making, can go further, or maybe And if, of course, if there's other opportunity, we would love to have a other show, and show around. But the work is keep going, making work is important. Although sometimes it could be difficult, but I think, we in our age, our stage, I think we do finding some kind of a happy moment during the creation, making.
We definitely hope that you guys keep making work, and together it seems like it really works beautifully together. So we're happy to have you both. Well, if there's no other comments, Kathy or Luzhen, do you have anything else that you want to add before we close up? No? Okay, good. So I want to thank you both so much for being here and for sharing about your work and sharing about this show. It's a fabulous show. As I mentioned, everyone is welcome to come in and see it. We're open Tuesday through Saturday from 11 to 3. Our admission is free year round. We do accept donations if you're so inclined, but definitely come around to come see the show. We highly encourage you to do so. It is available online in case you can't make it, or if you live quite a distance or for whatever reason can't come, you can see it online too. And all of the artworks are also for sale. So if there's any inquiries for sales, please let our gallery staff know. If you're interested, it's a first come, first serve basis. So take a look. I've got a program that's ready online and also in the gallery space, everything is labeled. So if you have any questions as far as pricing or anything else, just please reach out and let our staff know. That should be everything for today. So thank you so much, Kathy. And thank you, Luzhen, for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.